very well in bridging that communication gap. We have the Oriole Way reading, writing, and math expectations. We took some essential standards and we communicated it with students in user-friendly language. Mr. Broden was very responsible for that when he was principal. I just built on that, and we're teaching our students what are our expectations in reading and writing and math and all your subject areas, including your electives. Oriole Nation Heals is a K-12 initiative. We have a mental health navigator, Carrie Nitz, and we pride ourselves in working with our students to provide them with the mental health supports that they need as well. And in the nurturing nest, we had Mrs. McDowell, Mrs. Broden, and Mrs. Randas at the high school, at the middle school. They created a caring closet and had several clothing drives, and we're expanding that next year. So for any student that needs like toiletries or any assistance or help with clothing, they can get that there discreetly and no questions asked. We pride ourselves on service learning, and we have an annual day of service where we're going into the community. Every so often we have things like our classroom raising money to provide Heifer International with funds so that they can buy like equipment for farmers overseas. We have a day where we just do blankets for Solution Center, like around 70 or 80 blankets. We deliver our Oriole leaders, our student government used to do baby boxes to hospitals. We have a summer school class called Caravan where students just ride in a van and they go to different places and they help like Touchstone Senior Center. They help the firefighters clean their trucks. They go to places in horse farms and help there as well. So all these things are things that we've done pretty regularly over the last 6 years in terms of service learning. Athletics-wise, 72% of our students have been involved over the last 6 years in an athletic sports or team activity. 63% of our students are in music, whether they're choir or band. Around 17% of our students are in Oriole leaders. Robotics has been very successful, and around 11% of our students have been there. So we've had a very active student body. Our band program's done really well. Mr. Fedison was our band teacher for a period of time, and also Mr. Moyer, who left us to go back to Maine. We've participated in the band festival at the Kalahari, the state capitol concert. We've had 3 years in a row where we won the Sunny 97 Christmas Idol competition, and we've been invited to perform at Bucks games 2 times in the last 3 years. So this is a wonderful band program, and we have a lot of great things that are happening in our school that have been manifesting over the last 6 years. Last year, like I said before, was very discombobulated because we were coming back from, we had in 2020, 9 weeks of all virtual, and then in 2021, we had all these different schedule changes and our students were never together full-time until last year. So like I said, there are a lot of processes and a lot of routines and things that students have to get reacclimated, and so did staff. So I called this, and I got this from Educational Week, our professional journal, and this really encapsulated what we did at BANS. We were trying to reconnect, support, and accelerate. We were trying to provide an academic boost to students that had gaps in their learning. We're trying to reconnect students to each other and to their adults, their trusted adults, and in their community. We were trying to provide social emotional support, establishing routine, and building on new skills that we learned. A lot of great things happened in terms of Zoom and a lot of great things that students were very resilient that they had to learn, and we can apply that to our learning. The same thing for staff. I'm very happy that we're here 100%, and I'm very happy that we're moving forward. But last year was kind of like a reaction to the last year and a half, and we had to reconnect, support, and accelerate our students. One of the things that we did as a district admin team that I really loved and I applied to our school was establishing meeting norms. So we felt that coming back into a full-time school year, we needed to have purpose for our meetings, and I applied this to our school as well. We're student focused, we value time, we assume positive intent, we actively participate, we have open and active listening, we're solutions oriented, and we're committed to the team. So these are things that every time we meet, we review and we try to follow, and we will continue to do our best to be true to this. We also, with the help of Mr. Broden, our teacher and learning director, met and created an academic vision. And basically, we expect that students will experience rigor in all content areas, learn at high levels, and are academically focused and engaged participants in their education. And we also expect that staff will share information in common language across grade levels, make decisions that are student focused, and be academically focused and maximize student engagement. This is kind of the drivers that we're having on a very minimal level to get our work and build upon that. And basically, our academic expectations are achieved by working together with the Oriole Way behavioral expectations, PBIS, being ready, being respectful, and being safe. So, like I said before, this presentation has a lot of data. It has living data and autopsy data. And I want to show you what we did with our living data to act upon certain things, set some goals, and also show you the results of those goals. So we have a $150,000 grant for the Department of Justice and the University of Wisconsin in Madison. We are using that money to help students that need insurance coverage for mental health services, as well as hiring an SEL coach or social emotional learning coach to help with the curriculum of our social emotional learning lessons and so forth, and other things as well. But the Department of Justice requires us to do school climate surveys. So we've had 2 for students this year and 2 for staff. So I'll be referencing some of that data. Also, the Gallup, for several years, we've had Q12 administration data, as well as student Gallup surveys that provide us with a lot of information. For the student Gallup, we looked at 4 categories: engagement, hope, belonging, and social emotional learning. Our school has a higher mean score than the district in all these categories, but there's some things that we need to improve upon. Like, I personally am not happy that only 65% of our students are engaged. That might be the highest mark among the district schools, but there are 23% of students that indicated that they're not engaged, and 12% of students that are actively disengaged. We have to figure out who these students are and try to get them and make sure that they get back into the being engaged and seeing what we can do to attract them to our school and make them feel part of a family. Social and emotional learning, one of the things that students indicated that they're having a difficulty with is when I'm angry or upset, I'm very good at explaining what is bothering me to other people. Students are not communicating their issues or the problems, and that's something that we're trying to work on with our mental health navigator and our Oriole Nation Heals program. In terms of hope, students said that they know that they'll graduate from high school, so that's a great thing. But they also said that they are having a difficult time finding many ways around problems. So that's a curriculum issue too, and that's also kind of an issue with social emotional learning, is to try to find multiple ways that students can express themselves and figure out the problem solving in their life. In terms of belonging, students, the lowest score was my classmates care about me, so there seems to be issues with students and their relationships amongst one another. But the highest question, which is really great, is if I were in trouble, there's an adult at school I can count for help. So students feel comfortable with the staff members and getting help. The Q12 was the administrator survey, and again, the Gallup survey was given in the fall. The Q12 survey was also given during the year. There's improvement in all of the areas that the Q12 measures. The staff indicated that I care about them and I really support their development. Those are the 2 areas that scored the highest. And the 2 areas that need improvement is recognizing them and looking at their progress and monitoring their progress. So those are things that I'm gonna work on as an administrator and as a leader to try to make sure that staff get recognized and that I also follow up on their process, on their progress. Now, the Department of Justice Student Climate Survey brought about a lot of data. I'm not gonna go over all of it. I'm just gonna give it like a summary of the category and what I feel if it's good, average, or needs improvement, and then maybe highlight some of the data. So students' attachment to school, I would consider that to be average. I mean, the 79% like bands and 77% are proud to be at bands, but only 76% feel that they belong at bands. Once again, 24% of students that were surveyed don't feel they belong at the school. We need to figure that out and help them. Academic expectations at school, I would say that's good. Teachers have high expectations and want students to learn a lot. The area that needs the most improvement, again, is the relationships among the students. There are many survey questions that ranked very low in terms of how students felt about each other and so forth. Student support from staff is good. Like 94% believe that most teachers and adults at BANF want them to do well. But again, 76% feel that teachers and adults listen to what students have to say. So there's 24% that don't feel that they're being listened to. The student willingness to seek help is average. I think that students struggle to advocate for themselves in middle school as it is, that it's part of adolescence. But I also think that we can do a better job of encouraging students to be more comfortable around staff. Personal safety is good. The one area that I feel I want 100% of students to feel safe at BAMS is only at 84. So we have to figure out why that's the case. Bullying victimization is average. 55% have reported that they have not been bullied, but 45% have, and that's a concern. But 82% of students report that they haven't bullied students at all, and 80% have reported that they have not been cyberbullied at school. Again, relatively speaking, there are things that we need to work on and improve, but there are other things here that give us hope that, students are treating each other well, at least online and in other areas. So again, the data that's provided here for the student perspective is something that we're going to be working on more frequently and directly amongst the staff. The staff also provides some information. I think 78% agree or somewhat agree that they work well together. Again, we would like that to be 100%. 79% agree or somewhat agree that there's mutual support among colleagues. Again, 100%. We want all of these positive questions to be 100% and all the negative questions to be at 0%. So we're going to have to really work hard to figure out what are the barriers to success in these areas. 89% agree or somewhat agree that they are treated with respect by students. I think that's a pretty good thing. And 100% agree or somewhat agree that they feel physically safe at times. So that's good. So again, there are some things that 70% feel burnt out at their job. We need to address that as well. So focus areas that are based on the survey. So we had all this living data. So we created some goals. We wanted teachers to do a self-assessment on how they engage different learners. We wanted to increase our use of our positive oral referrals, which we give certificates to kids when they're caught doing something good. We also do that to staff. And we also give BANS bucks, which is our PBIS currency. So we were trying to increase all that. Increase our problem-solving activities in instruction and curriculum. PLCs can work on that. Academic career portfolio curriculum, set goal setting and future career opportunities and promote that to students. And our social emotional learning curriculum, encouraging students to open up, empathy, conflict resolution, and connectedness and caring. So through cool tools and our behavior matrix as well as other activities, we set these goals, and we had some things that I want to report that are good things, and there's some things that we kind of, like I said earlier, need to improve. We had 31 social emotional learning lessons this year and 16 academic career portfolio lessons. We had a global read aloud on the book Bystander, which talks about bullying. We also had 338 times where students were recognized, and that was 203 students. That was 63% of our student body. We want that to be 100%, but other teachers and staff, they sent letters to all their students, and that happened when I calculated it. 100% of our students received at least one positive note or recognition from a staff member. Our staff received 475 different referrals, positive ones, and the cool thing is that bled out to other schools eventually. So 60 staff in our district received at least one positive note. We had a 35% decrease in our major referrals from the last time we had a full school year. We had the same days of in-school suspensions. We had a little more than seven. We had 7 more out-of-school events and 2 more in-school events, but the same amount of students in school and 2 more out of school. So it was kind of like the same before the pandemic. We had 96% of our students that were attending regularly. When you put in the COVID protocols, that ended up being 93%. And pretty much the data shows, at least from discipline-wise, that we had less major referrals. So a lot of things that we were working on really impacted in that respect. So to just give a summary of our non-academic student learning outcomes, I think that creating and maintaining a positive emotional environment, in some areas we did well, and in some areas it's a delta or a means of improvement that we have to take advantage of. In terms of life, college, and career readiness, we did provide all those activities. I think that we did a wonderful job of that, so I would say yes to that goal. For our academic goals, we have literacy and math, and we set our student learning objective where we have 80% of students in each grade will attain growth or proficiency in a predetermined priority standard as chosen and assessed by classroom teachers. The teachers will create their own test and give them 3 times a year. And then at the end of the year, we tabulate the data. For literacy, 90% of students attained growth or proficiency. And in math, it was 83.8 or 84% attained growth or proficiency. So on paper, we did meet our literacy and math SLOs. And if you look at all the combined literacy and math assessments, 86% of students achieved growth or proficiency. So on paper, we met that. But when we're looking at our STAR scores, this is where there's a kind of like a clash, and we need to kind of figure out how we can improve these scores. In 6th grade, when students came into our school in the fall, they were 25% were at or above the 50th percentile in reading. At the end of the year, that ended up being 34%, so there was a 9% growth. When you look at the state benchmark, and it's 23% to 39%, so there was a lot of growth in 6th grade in reading. In 7th grade, it took a dip at or above the 50th percentile, it went down 7%, and in the state benchmark, it went down 4%. And in 8th grade, it also took a dip at or above 50 percentile by 4%, and it stayed the same at the state benchmark at 34%. In math, the 8th grade experienced an 18% increase from 25 to 43% at or above 50 percentile, and in the state benchmark, they went up by 18%. So 6th grade, very successful in growing students. 7th grade, however, in math, they went up by 15% at or above the 50 percentile in math, and went up by 5% in the state benchmark. The reading needs improvement, the literacy part. And in 8th grade, they pretty much stayed the same in the math measures at or above 50 percentile, and they went up by 7% in the state benchmark. We had a new math curriculum this year with new instructional materials, and Mr. Jordan did a good job of bringing the teachers together and going over the data, and also taking time to have the teachers learn how to teach with the new curriculum, and I give the teachers credit too. ELL, we have 44 students in our English language learning program, and 14% of our students are in ELL. And that number will be growing. In essence, 32 out of our 44 students are either developing or expanding upon the language. We do have some beginners that are coming in that are learning right off the bat. But developing means that they know and use social English and some specific academic language with visual and graphic support, and expanding means that they know and use social English and some technical academic language. So our students, again, they're developing and expanding, and they're still not taking that time to do the higher order things because many students are new to our country or have been here for 2 years. So hopefully in the next few years, we will have them be more bridging and reaching and exiting the program.
Hey, Mike,
Yeah.
just for sake of how
I'm sorry.
you're doing good. I just
Yeah,
don't want the
my
other
bad.
administrators to
My
think
bad.
that
Yeah.
you're a data king. I
Yeah.
get that, but I just
Yeah.
want to make sure we.
So I'm gonna wrap it up here, and I apologize to everyone. So I just feel that we have a lot to improve on certain things, and that we're doing very well on others. And like I said, it all focuses on looking at our information and then our practices, and just trying to work together and reorganize ourselves so that we can be more focused on the academic and social emotional needs of our students. And again, I provided a list of new things that we're gonna do. Not gonna go over them in greater detail, but I figured that you would be interested in some of these things as they will be happening next year.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. Any questions?
I don't want to get in the weeds. I just have one quick question.
Yeah, sorry.
If you can go back to the 8th grade STAR math
Yeah.
slide. I just want to make sure I understand the numbers that we don't. So like if you look at the Wisconsin slide in I think it's the last school year shows 83% are below the benchmark, if I'm reading that right. So what is that? What's that benchmark? What does that mean? That 83% of the kids are below the 50 percentile compared to other kids in the state? Is that how to read that? I don't know what it means.
Adam, can you help with that? Yes.
Yeah, so I'm just making sure, so that state benchmark ballpoint?
Well, no, I'm actually looking at the graph itself, back a
Oh,
few
okay.
pages.
Okay, so just kind of looking at that slide, so there's 50th percentile, our STAR assessment, which is a fall, winter, spring, our benchmark assessment. That percentile, where we look at the 50th percentile, that's nationally normed. So that's looking at all students across the country, and the 50th percentile, if the student reaches that, we would say they're average compared to peers across the country. That state benchmark is another performance band we have in STAR, so that's a predictor for our Wisconsin state assessment. So that is telling you, that percentage is telling you how many students is the STAR assessment predicting will be proficient on the state assessment that we take at the end of the year. Is that answering that question? Kind of.
I think so. So what it number? I think so. So I think what it's saying is 71% on the national thing are below the 50% benchmark.
Yeah, and I don't have that graph, but yeah, if it's at that, say 29% are proficient, and 71 would be below that proficiency.
And proficiency is 50%.
Yeah, if it's that national percentile, then yep.
Thanks.
The state benchmark, it's a little bit different. Sometimes students have to, depending on the grade level, they might be at, say, 60th percentile on the assessment, but it's not kind of equaling out to be proficient on our state assessment. But sometimes it could be there, could be at the 40th percentile, and then that would mean they are in line to be proficient. So it's a little bit trickier with that. I like the 50th percentile is more cut and dry of, hey, 50 and above is proficient, 50 and below is not proficient, but that state predictor sometimes, again, can be used to give us an idea of how will these kids perform on that state assessment.
Thanks.
So I know it was a lot of data and things like that, and I apologize if it was too long-winded, but.
Get into it, Mike, you're older, you got all lathered up, man. You
So I
gotta-
think we have a plan in place for next year, moving forward with our staff, and I just wanted to share that with you.
Mike, and thanks for always sending those ahead. All the attachments, you give us plenty of time to look through it, so it really is appreciated, because I know a lot of work goes into it.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Good work. All right, so then we'll go up to Samantha. I have your Horace Mann, SLO and everything pulled up. How are you doing?
Hey, how are you guys?
Good.
So just want to share, so high school, for our high school SLO does two different things. One, we have Horace Mann High School SLO, which I think, again, Erin, you have up here. So we use the College and Career Readiness document. So I shared a little bit about that with board members, both our confidential document with all of our student names and so forth on it, and then just a little bit about trying to understand what college and career readiness encompasses as far as what is the criteria for a student to be considered college ready, and then what is considered for a career ready student on that redefining ready document. So what we shared with you here, we were pleased. So for our goal, our hope was that 85% of our seniors would be career ready and at least 50% of our seniors college ready. Last year we had hoped that 100% of our students would be career ready, and that is ultimately our goal. We want all of them to be. I think a couple of the factors that I put in here, so for 2021-22, we had 58 out of 107, or 54% of our seniors considered college ready. So we met that college ready goal. And then we had 76 out of 107, or 71% of our seniors considered career ready. And part of the things I think in looking at career ready, not to, like many of us have done, that we blame it on COVID, but looking at a couple of things, whether it be community service, which is under career ready. All of our students had indicated what their career field they were interested in, but some of them were not as involved as we would have liked them to be, and that is one of the areas of criteria for career ready. So just, being aware of that data. A couple of things that we're going to do again in the fall, which we've done in the past, is to have kind of a field day, we call it. And it's just a day that we use the gymnasiums to promote all of our clubs, all of our sports, all of our activities to our students. And the homeroom teacher kind of allows everybody to just be in that gym. We've kind of done it by grade level, and just as a reminder of all that we have to offer for those students. So that goal is for all of our staff. And then what happens individually at the high school is every teacher, a part of their own SLO in their classroom, has one. So for example, our FIAD teachers work together on their SLO, and that was to increase cardiovascular physical fitness of our students. They really felt that when students came back after COVID, kind of doing the presidential fitness check-ins with them, that students were not as active during COVID times. So that was their goal. Another example, just to share, is our Spanish teachers also collaborated on their SLO, and that was they created steps in proficiency growth for our students in Spanish. So that's Spanish 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So every teacher has that individual data, and then again, as a building, we have our building SLO for college and career readiness. And part of the reason that we do that is one of the guidelines under college readiness is that our students are able to earn a 2.8 GPA or better. And so everybody, working in their classrooms, obviously supports that goal of trying to help students reach that GPA, both in the classroom and then, using, for example, Oriole time to support students. So that is our SLO. And then just a few other things that I know Mike shared, and we've shared every month, so I don't want to repeat. We are really, really proud at Oriole Nation Heals. We are so blessed to have Carrie Nitz as our mental health navigator. The high school, we've been able to carve away 3 spaces for her. our old equipment room as a small group counseling session for students and their counselors, and we have 2 other office areas that they use. And they're used quite frequently. We're very, very pleased that we have those memos of understanding with outside agencies. Like Mike mentioned, we still have a lot of students who are in need. Prom dresses is a huge one, homecoming dress is a huge one, and we have closets available both at Phoenix Academy and the high school for students. So really, I think we do a great job as a district in really supporting our students in whatever they need. Oriole Way, that's going to be 22-23 is going to be a little bit of a reflection year for us in kind of reviewing that fidelity piece. So Oriole, our Oriole time at the end of the day is from 2:39 until 3:10. We had it at the end of the day because we know that many of our sports teams, especially in the spring, leave, and we wanted to have students miss the least amount of class time as possible. One of the things that we are going to be reviewing, and I think Mike mentioned a little bit, so with the grants that we've received, between the safety grant that we applied for, our mental health grant, and then our Department of Justice grant, we as a team really met and looked at how can we best use those dollars. And one of the things we talked about was that we are using 7 mindsets, K-12 now as a district. High school had started using that curriculum for social emotional learning, and then middle school and then elementary added that. And high school wise, we do that 1 day a week. Every single person in our building, including myself, has a homeroom, and we go over that with students on Mondays. Part of what we're finding in year 2 of 7 mindsets is a little bit of, I don't want to say mundane lessons, but our kids are becoming of that belief of like, oh, it's Monday again, we're doing that lesson thing. And we really want to change that. So part of our grant, we talked about having an SEL coach, and we are in process of, we'll have one start with us this year, using our grant dollars to pay for the person from CESA 6 to be an SEL coach, to kind of check in all of our building levels, and then really take a look at, what's working, what do they see, what are some pieces of fidelity that we need to review, and by the end of 22-23, then we'll review whether or not we'll continue with the 7 mindsets data. Maybe it's a fidelity piece, or maybe it is needing to look at a different curriculum. So I think for, we talk about students and their whole well-being, that is really our goal, trying to make sure that their college, their career, and their life ready. I shared a couple documents with you tonight in email, just want to kind of share with you as well now. So part of with our AMI group and our student support team, we've done 2 different things. So one of them is we this year had a GSA group that started, and we have one of our staff members supporting that group. And really students came to first the advisor and then came to me and said, can we really look at some of the language that we use? So later on tonight, when you look at our handbook, I have taken out of our handbook a lot of the he and the she, and just indicated student to make it easier and more equitable for all. We also looked at what is the best way. We do have students in the high school, and this is very common in every high school, that are asking to go by a different name, or to, for myself, Samantha, sometimes people will say, well, do you prefer Samantha or Sam? What is it? And for students, when teachers start in the beginning of the year developing their relationships, that is something that they do. And we do have students who have a different name that they prefer to be called by. We also, obviously in the high school, have some gender issues. So we really wanted to, do our research. We talked to several other districts, talked to DPI, talked to Skyward, and so shared with Erin. And then just so you guys have a copy of it, what our plan will be for fall. It is called a gender support plan. So it is a parent communication that will go out with our online registration for everyone to kind of view and see. So we're really pleased with that. Again, we just want to support all students in our building. The other thing that I will say that between our student support group and our AMI group, We, for years, have used the widescreen as kind of that well-being check. Doctor's offices use a very similar check-in for patients that come in. So all of our freshmen in Fond du Lac County use the widescreen tool. We felt that we were still seeing a big need in our upperclassmen who were struggling junior and senior year. And so what we chose to do, the widescreen really was meant for freshmen and not able to kind of take on additional classes. So we met as a team, and middle school is also using this screener, but we were using what's called the SDQ screener. And I'm just really proud. It is strengths and difficulties questionnaire. And I shared a copy with you tonight. Erin, you have it in your email. If you'd like to pull up, feel free on the screen. So we chose as a sample this year our junior class. 94 students in our junior class were screened using this screener, and then 20 of these students screened high in their overall stress, 17 screened elevated in their overall stress, and then 15 screened with an elevated level in one or two or more domains, and 42 had no concerns, which was great. Of the 55% of students who screened with a high or elevated level, both overall and in one or more domains, 58% were female, 42% male, 71% were Caucasian, 27% Hispanic, and 2% were African American. And really what our group tried to do in looking at this data, our counselors and our support team did a fantastic job of every student who was in that high level of contacting home and then sharing with them a resources document. It might mean something as little as, hey, guardian, mom, dad, whoever is there at home, this student, just to have a check-in with them. It was not anything in saying that you need to take this person in for outside counseling right away. It really might be that you need to have a conversation with your student. Maybe there's something that's causing stress right now, just for that parent to be aware of. We had really positive feedback from parents, from our counselors and team calling home, just to let them know, to check in with their student. And because of the SDQ, screener, kind of a tongue twister there, we are looking at adding more of our grade levels. In a true, universal tier support, every student, freshmen through seniors, would be screened with some sort of screener to check in with them. We need to make sure that we have that capability, because the worst thing you could do is screen a student that flags and not have any sort of resources or support for them. So we will continue with widescreen with the Fond du Lac County for our freshmen, and then this coming year using these SDQ screener for our sophomores and our juniors. Any questions on that document? A couple of things that I just wanted to share that we're really proud of. So being a school of 465, we do a great job of really supporting students, I feel, who have an IEP. We have our aides, we have our special teachers who are just rock stars in the classroom. At the high school, we really use the co-teaching model. We are very strong in that in both English and in math. But the other end of the spectrum, so to speak, is our advanced classes. So we've had, and I think, Erin, you had a child who came out of our high school with 21 credits. I believe that's the number. But our students are able to take AP government, they're able to take AP psychology, they're able to take CAP classes through EW Oshkosh, which is our CAP pre-calc, our CAP calculus, and every couple of years calculus 2. We have 3 different CAP English courses, so a speech, a written, and a literature course. Last year, Ramsey Immel was able to add CAP kinesiology in FIED, and that allows students to get up to 5 credits. They can do the CPR, they can do strength and conditioning, or archery. So for some students, they can get their FIED taken care of college as well in high school. The other document, just to share, is through MPTC, and we have 1 class that's offered through Foxville Tech at no cost to our students or to us. We have quite a plethora of dual enrollment courses. And so again, we let students know that, they can sign up for them. Really the only negative is if you're a student who's not going to pass a class, which again, we're very blessed that most do, that, any sort of dual enrollment can impact your financial aid. But that's been a huge help to our students who are going on to our technical schools to get a lot of credits taken care of there. And then certificates. So a program through the state called Act 59, where I have to put in every September indication we do receive money from the state back for that, for students who qualify for youth apprentice, for students who qualify for certificate programs, so like with Stephanie Fox in the child care and the sanitary certificate, from Mike McDowell, the construction certificate, and then from Mr. Wismer and Mr. Forsythe with Computer Essentials 1 and 2. So for this past year, we had 41 students who received one of those certificates, which is a really good number. We had 10 that were in youth apprenticeship. We had 7 for Mrs. Fox. We had 9 for Mr. McDowell and 15 from Mr. Wismer or Mr. Forsythe. And those are just seniors. Those are not underclassmen that get turned in for Act 59. I want to give a shout out before I forget. So Bree Rock, one of our basketball players, and I believe it was on our Facebook as well today. So she was able to participate in the 2022 All-Star Girls Basketball game. So she posted on there. So just a huge congratulations to Bree. She's just done a great job. And then I know that Sarah Drews, I think you're still there. So it's really cool to see this year, and I'm not sure if it got mentioned in our last meeting, but with pole vault and able to be able to run pole vault, now we have Morgan Fowler, who holds our school record for pole vault. So congratulations to her. Couple of things just wanted to share as a reminder to the board that we are so proud of. Our incubator and accelerator EDU courses just provide students that life ready, that experience of working with the outside business, of, starting their own company. We've seen Team Pama, who has been in. I mean, their products are in some of our local businesses. They're still getting news and press about it. There's just something posted recently on our Facebook. So just, huge shout out to Kurt Wismer for being involved in that program. Since he's become involved in that, and like he shared, he's asked to come to Chicago every year, pretty much free of charge, and asked to present and give information about his program at our school. So it's great feedback for us. A couple other things that I just want to share. So, and Mike shared a little bit. So for ELL students at the high school, we have been, really lucky. We have Mr. Chavez, who is a bilingual speaker. And then students also receive support from Ms. Emsley, who is a bilingual aide. And then also we have an EL teacher who shared between middle school and high school. But in becoming more of the bilingual program at the high school, we are looking to have 2 of our teachers go back and they should take a praxis exam in one of the content areas to get a content certificate, and then go for their bilingual license. And so we're really pleased to have that. Our students who, we have over a 20% population that are Latino, and they're able to, have a couple of different classes that are more heavily supported, by Mr. Chavez or Ms. Emsley. And so we're pleased to be able to offer just a plethora of opportunities for students. Last couple of things I'll share, because I know some of are repetitive, like Mike had shared. So high school also worked and has an academic team, and so every board report that you saw, our academic vision was right at the top of what we believe in. So we will continue that work as a group with Mr. Broden and our staff members. And I know Adam had just met with myself and I believe 5 parents, Adam. I'm trying to remember what the number was that were part of our group.
Yeah.
Just meeting with them. Okay, thank you. To get them involved as well with that. So that for academic vision. And then also this year, trying to kind of get back on track after COVID. Adam began to meet with our curriculum teams. And that's going to be a continued area of focus for Tier 1 instruction at the high school, just to raise that bar for depth of knowledge questions and continue to raise the bar curriculum-wise for our students. Behavior data. So one of the things that high school has to probably get better at is our teachers do a great job of handling things in their classroom, but trying to document items from teachers. So we just had a team review of that process. For the high school for the year 21-22, we had 75 classroom removals with a total of 54 students. So, and those might be anything from, a language issue or just a struggle that day. The student needed a break from classroom. But that really means that we had over 400 students that had no classroom removal. So, really proud of our student body and where our culture is at the high school. So that is a little bit to share, and I will continue to share this summer. Our PBIS team, Oriole team, will meet in August. And the same is true for some curriculum teams with Adam.
All right, thanks, Samantha. Anybody have any questions for Samantha? All right, thank you very much. We will move down to, or not down, but we'll move over to FLC. So we'll go to Carrie Jo, and I have what your thing pulled up too, unless you want to share it.
No, if you do, that would be great. Thank you so much. Don't have to make it more complicated. All right, so I did send over the updated FLC data, looking at a couple of different data points. First of all, our Lexia data, the first few slides go through that. So the slide you're looking at shows, again, where we started the school year with fall of 2021. We had 507 of our students who entered the school year working within below grade level material. And we had 106 students who started the school year working within grade level material. We did not have anyone working above grade level material in Lexia. And this was our focus area for our SLO. This is what you were continuing to get updated on in my monthly board reports. And our spring data, we were able to meet our benchmark that we were looking for. We still ended up with 144 students below grade level material. We were able to get 198 students within grade level material, but most importantly, we were able to get 271 students working above grade level material by the end of our school year. So the next slide, and I do have links, I'm at the bottom of each of those just to our raw data. So as I noted in my email, it does include specific student information, but that way you can go back and look if you want to dig deeper into it to see where this data came from. There are 4 students at FLC who use alternative assessments. They are in one of our alternative presentation programs. Those 4 students were not participating in Lexia this year, so they are not factored into the data. So there's a first grader, a third grader, a fourth grader, and a fifth grader where you'll see that the number of students is 1 more student when you look at the report, but you'll also see their name and that they don't have data. On the next slide, it's the same information, just shared out a different way. So again, when we started this school year, we had 0 students working above grade level, and by the end of the year, that 271. So I just broke it out by grade level so that you could see where those above grade level students fall. And then again, we started with 507 students below grade level. So that's down to the 144. Again, you can see where those students fall. And then you can also see the students that we moved to within grade level. Just, again, those are kids, some of them might be just on the cusp of reaching that end of your benchmark, but if they didn't get there, we did need to count them within grade level for the level that they were working in. So any questions so far about any of this?
You're good.
This is just pardon?
Nothing, right?
Okay, good. So then this is again that same information, but what I did is I looked at, again, the yellow would indicate those kids that now are within like a year of being behind, up to a year of being behind. So over on the far right column. So those are kids that we are going to consider to be on watch. And then I broke out within the grade level, above grade level or below grade level. So again, you can see where our kids were at. There are, several grade levels where we have students who are significantly above their current grade level. So as much as Lexia focused on students who were below grade level, it also offered learning opportunities for our students who are working above grade level. And that's been something that we've been working really hard to be able to differentiate and meet both ends of the spectrum for our students who are also high achieving. So again, you can see within that data how many students are in each of those areas. Then I pivoted to STAR data. So STAR we administer obviously 3 times a year. I did include the 2 different reports for you. And again, the original data files are linked there for you to dig deeper if you wish. And again, I'm happy to go through that with anyone offline. Our STAR proficiency data source, the data over to the far right, gives you an indicator. As Adam mentioned before, it's based on the state benchmark. So this would be that predictor that if our students were taking the forward exam, how many of them would rate within these different categories. So forward exam is administered for grades 3, 4, 5, but we watch our kindergarten, first, second grade data, obviously because we want to try and get that to the point that before they're taking the forward exam, we have more of our students over in that above and at category. So this is where we ended our year with our students. So you have the number of students at each grade level that took the STAR reading assessment, and then how many of those students fell into each of those categories.
Can I just ask because the categories are labeled a little different, so is basic below grade level or at grade level?
So this kind of goes to where Adam was saying, again, depending on how we slice and dice all of our data, I would say that we want our students to be at or above, because that would be that grade level. Basic is that they're approaching that grade level, but they're still, again, they could be very close. They could be, as far as that percentile, you're looking at, let me think about what that one is. That one is, Adam, do you know right up, I'm just trying to think which percentile that is for that range. I think it's like the 20, or the 10th to the 50th, is that right?
Yeah, it kind of depends with the grade level, but I think maybe Rick I would look at that as the at and above, that's gonna be your kids above the grade level. So if you're looking for a percentage, and kids basic and below are not at proficiency yet.
Yeah. Yeah, so we would, again, like I said, we want to move our kids there. That below basic column, that is typically that 9th percentile or below. So those are those kids that are going to be looking at that more intensive intervention.
Yeah, and I don't want to go into the weeds here, because I know we're running late, but the numbers are different than the Lexia numbers, and
they're definitely different than Lexia.
And so it's hard to understand which numbers we should be looking at to determine if we're really making progress or not, because they're significantly different.
Yeah, so I would recommend, again, that you use your Lexia data, your bench, like what you have as your data, and then continue to look at comparing Lexia to Lexia, and then continue looking at STAR to STAR, not looking, again, we're looking to triangulate that data so that we're validating, are we getting the same outcomes that we would expect? So if you're looking to triangulate those 2 assessments, for instance, I would look at your number, sorry, I'm flipping through mine. Erin, if you go back 2 slides, if you look at your students who are above grade level in Lexia, those are your kids that are proficient, or those are that at or above number, okay? Your kids who are within grade level in Lexia, at the end of this year, like I said, they didn't cross that threshold. So a 4th grader could be still working within 4th grade level material at the end of this year. So when they go to 5th grade, they're not considered, they're again, they didn't make that benchmark of getting over that hump into 5th grade. So if you're looking at raw numbers and you're trying to triangulate, look at your above grade level Lexia data, and then look at your at or above STAR reading to try and see what are you noticing there as far as trends or patterns. So as a, for instance,
Looks like it.
if you look at fifth grade on the chart that Erin has up, the fifth grade at or above, that one there, if you look at the fifth grade above, you have 39 students that are above grade level, and then if you click forward 2 slides, Erin.
Yep, I'm there.
Yep, there. So then you look at your fifth grade and you've got 29 plus 3, so you have 31. So that's where you can kind of see, like, are we getting, is our data close? And then again, you can dig deeper into it to say, well, what are we seeing when it's not? But generally speaking, for us at Friendship, we're comparing Lexia to Lexia first to look at that growth or to look at that improvement process, like you said. And then we're comparing Lexia to STAR, let's say, to look for that data validation. Are we seeing similar results with similar tests? Does that make sense?
It does. I'll need to go through and look at the data. At first blush, they don't look like they're lining up, but I haven't had time to look at it, so I don't want to say that yet.
Sure. So just remember, like I said, the thing to remember with Lexia is that within grade level is, again, they're within the grade level that they're currently in. So for them to be proficient, at the end of a school year, they should be indicating in that above grade level by the end of that school year. So that means they completed the grade level they were in.
Okay.
And our goal as our SLO, we knew we were not, when we had only 106 kids that started out the year working within grade level, we knew that we were not going to get 80% of our kids to the end of the year benchmark. We were looking at what is a stretch goal and setting that at 79% of them being within or above grade level. That's where we set that threshold, saying, hey, if we can get them at least within their grade level they're in right now, they're not in that range where we're looking at a 2-year lag. We're looking at when they go into the next school year, again, we can continue to work on closing that gap because we've closed it so much this year. It's that work in progress.
Okay, thanks.
So back on that STAR reading chart with the graph, thank you. So the other thing on the the left-hand side is just an intervention screening report. So this is something that our academic team also looks at. And this again will show you different, it's showing you the breakdown as far as the intervention, the need for that or that risk. So this is where we've used this data to determine in part what students we're going to target for intermediate intervention, which was typically that tier 2 in our classroom, and then also our intensive intervention, which is typically with our specialists, and that's typically a pull-out. But we'll talk about that, what that looks like a little bit more later in the report. So then I also included STAR math data as the next slide. And again, it's that same format. I should use the intervention data. So those green bars represent the students who are at or above benchmark. The blue are the students that are on watch. Then you get into yellow is that, we're starting to watch for that intervention. And then the red is that high risk that we're looking at. And then as far as those kids for state benchmark, the predictor for the forward exam, again, that data in the chart to the right shows those predictors for the different categories. And then the last slide that I have in the deck shows F&P benchmark data, which is our third data point for literacy that we use to, again, try to compare and again, see where we're at, because STAR, Lexia, F&P, they all measure different skills within literacy. Lexia is based on science of reading, it's comprehensive. STAR, that test adjusts up and down to the child each day, and certain skills may or may not be tested depending on what session they get. And then F&P generally is much more focused on the comprehension and inferring, which is an area that in the past our students just really have lagged behind. So again, what we've talked about in other board meetings is Lexia is that acquisition of skill, and then F&P is really assessing sometimes that application of that skill. So the number of students that were showing proficiency for their grade level are indicated for at or above for each of the grade levels. The number of students that are tested varies, so depending on our enrollment and how many students participated in each testing session. So for 1st through 5th grade, you'll see the number of students that were proficient divided by the number of students that were testing. So then the yearly delta was figured out, and all of this data was part of our Title I data that Margaret Logeman, our Title I coordinator, put together. So I pulled that from her report. So that is it for the slideshow. And again, like I said, I'm sure with more time, if there are questions, I'm definitely happy to answer those or walk through why we use that data or how we use that data. The next thing I wanted to highlight was our school's recognition by the Wisconsin RTI Center. In the past, we've been recognized for our PBIS behavior data and processes, and this year, for the first time, we were recognized for reading and math as well as behavior. So we received all 3 areas of recognition. We are, as Friendship Learning Center, we are 1 in 8 schools within CISA 6 to receive recognition for all 3. And we are one of only 94 schools across the state that received recognition in all 3 categories. So this is a huge celebration for us. And the recognition comes, like I said, from the Wisconsin RTI Center DPI, just really validating the efforts that we have made in our equitable multi-level systems of support, or EMLSS, and then also just making sure that we're seeing that improvement in data. So our data gets validated by an external source as well. So that's an exciting accomplishment. And then connecting to that, our EMLSS team, so we have our behavior team, which is PBIS or Oriole Way. We have our SEL team, which includes our mental health or AMHE work. And then we have our academic team. So those 3 sub-teams roll up into FLC's EMLSS team. And I wanted to highlight first the work of the academic team and just talk a little bit about what that structure looks like going forward. So we have a core team of academic specialists, which is Margaret Logeman, Tammy Rademan, Elena Haubrick, and Pam Chia, and myself. And this group looks at entry and exit criteria and the intervention menus for our students. So they're helping to put this data together, review this data, and determine which students receive intermediate or intensive interventions. And we are moving forward with Margaret serving as a data liaison to kindergarten and 3rd grade, Elena serving as 1st and 4th grade liaison, and Tammy serving as 2nd and 5th grade. So they will meet on a regular basis with the grade levels to look at, in the coming school year, to look at their data and to continue to have data conversations and build that data literacy with our teachers. And they'll also lead our universal intermediate and intensive PD for the school year. And then Angie Long and Renee Schnell will continue to serve as our instructional assistants. And they are going to be receiving some additional training in Haggerty, Foundations of Sound, and Voyager Passport, so that they're able to do some intermediate intervention, or that tier 2 intervention. And then we also have some of our educators who are interested in getting trained as well. So some are working on that this summer. And they would be then able to do intensive interventions. So in the past, we've come and requested additional reading specialists and have not always had the funds to do that. And being really mindful of our budget, we were trying to create other opportunities where we can serve those students who need that intensive intervention. So at the kindergarten level, Jen Gilbertson and Erin Andrews will be serving as intensive interventionists for literacy and or math. So they'll do that, and then Renee and Angie will help provide support in their classroom during that time. And then 1st grade's to be determined. 2nd grade, Erin Luther expressed interest, and Jenny Grafton as well. 3rd grade, Rochelle McCallum and Amber Coates. 4th grade, Nate Testrodi and Pam Chia. And 5th grade, right now, Kim Jadarski has expressed interest. So we're building teacher capacity this summer in our intensive interventions so that they, again, can support the work of Tammy Rademan as math and Margaret Lodeman as reading to serve more students in that intensive space. And then Jenny Grafton continues to support with the FLC assessments, our schedule, our calendar, and then supporting EduClimber, Wisconsin Forward Exam, and STAR, communicating with Adam and I on those things. So just wanted to give a shout out to that. So we are moving forward, as I mentioned, with a couple of new interventions. We also, besides Haggerty Foundations of Sound and Voyager Passport this summer, our teaching staff will be trained in Bridges intervention. We did train our special ed staff last summer, so this will be something that they'll be able to do during our impact time. And then we also have, as I mentioned, some of the teachers training in AVMR, which AVMR and Bridges will be our intensive intervention. So again, that continuous improvement journey continues down the path of adding more training, but keeping our resources the same and just being flexible in how we're scheduling. Other things we're doing going forward with an EMLSS team, our family cafe is going forward. We have a really great schedule based on family feedback. So our family cafe nights, again, are opportunities for adults to come and engage in learning with us. Topics, we floated out a bunch of different topics to find out interest. So the upcoming topics we have for this year, we know that we're going to go over SEL supports for students at Friendship. Another topic is helping elementary children navigating peer conflict. So the difference between tattling versus telling, or bullying versus mistreatment. And then also just some social media pointers for families. And then we have praise and positive interactions, as well as positive redirection for unwanted behavior. That's the first 3 months. And then November, when we have conferences, we anticipate we'll probably offer a networking opportunity for families to just network with one another within their grade level. December is looking like building empathy in elementary age children. January, fostering self-esteem in elementary age children. And then February, supporting mental health and wellness, and that can be for the family. And then we have 3 months that are open for new topics to be developed. So those will be offered, some will be offered right after school, some will be offered potentially in the morning or in the evening. They may be in person, they may be virtual. We're working out those details, but I'm really excited about our EMLSS team being able to tap into that, and again, as a way of outreach to our families and to serve as a resource to them to bridge that home and school connection. And then the Principals Advisory Board, we'll just kind of put a pause on that right now. Get some updates on that, but I think that's something that's really important to go forward with. Our plan was to have 2 representatives per grade level. As I mentioned in my report last month, they would include families from our Spanish-speaking or other languages, students with disabilities, and all of the other subgroups. So just having a cross-section where that parent advisory board would work with the principal to just, again, give some different perspectives or feedback on some of the work that we're doing. So they're not a decision-making body, but they're a sounding board and a chance to be ambassadors with us to promote the work that we are doing. And then we also have this summer other teacher training going on. We do have several teachers participating in Teachers College, the Summer Institutes, again, through Columbia University. And we also have Tammy Rademan going to achieve her Math Recovery Specialist certification. That's something that she'll be working on throughout the school year. And then that is a step on her way to becoming an AVMR champion. And by becoming an AVMR champion, Tammy would then be able to do all of our AVMR training in-house rather than having our teachers go out to other districts to get the training, which is what we need to do right now. It also is a huge cost savings to us down the road as well. And then a couple more things, other teacher resources that are going to be implemented this coming school year. 2nd grade and 4th grade are going to be doing a Fontes and Pinnell guided reading pilot. So all of those materials actually have been in hand and they've started working through that. So there's some curriculum work happening with that this summer. And then also our in-service dates for FLC have been planned. So August in-service at the building level is with Chris Meffert from CISA 6 Math Center. So she's coming back again to us to continue the work. So we have our priority standards and we have our assessment alignment, but what we need to go through is we want to have further conversation about what is proficient, what are the different, how do we assign, or how do we assess how do we score the assessments consistently? So that's some of the work that she'll be doing along with Bridges intervention. And then as the school year, we have our in-service days throughout the school year. Chris will be back working with our grade level teachers on different topics that we've established related to Bridges math. And then I got one more thing before I hand it off to Lauren. Really, again, I want to give a shout out to Team FLC. There are no random acts of improvement. A lot of this is a journey that we've been on for quite some time. Again, using that implementation science and studying the literature and research. The team has made connections with other districts along the way, seeing and doing similar work that we're doing. We have teachers and staff that are very motivated, and I feel blessed to have been empowered to be committed to the work of continuous improvement as the building leader. And I know that, again, we have good, strong baseline data to continue to build off of. And we have key leaders in place that will keep that work going. So I've mentioned them before. And then I want to turn it over to Lauren just to be able to give any updates she wants to on the SEL or the Oriole Way and any of that data or work, and then also summer school. So thanks.
Thank you. So I will keep my updates pretty brief, but just again, as I look into next year, I'm really excited to continue the work that we did with our peer mediation program, our mentor program, and then also looking at expanding grade levels for that sense anxiety screener that we talked about earlier in the year. And I also just want to say that summer school has been going really well, and that's thanks to all of the teachers and the support staff who are, in the buildings working with the kids. Heather and Julie from Aramark have done an incredible job feeding over 220 kids in a short amount of time. So again, it's been a lot of teamwork, and I think, knowing that we have that amount of kids signed up for summer school, and again, just all the thanks to the people who make it possible. So that's all I have.
Any questions for FLC? All right, well, thank you guys very much. We'll now go to Tiffany, Trefford Way.
All right, so for my board report, I have it broken down into our 6 components of the Trefford approach and then just a few highlights under each of those components. So our first component is an accurate assessment, and this year as a staff, we really worked on those Trefford approach plans, and each student had a Trefford approach plan that was developed with the teacher and the family and some of the students when they're at an age or understanding level where it would be appropriate. And that's built off of those 6 components of the Trefford approach, and our building SLO and our teacher SLOs were based on that. So depending on the grade level last year, students had anywhere from 3 to 6 goals related to the Trefford approach, and teachers had that they wanted their students to reach anywhere from 2 to all 6 of those goals. And 100% of our students made at least one goal, many achieving 5 to 6 goals in those. And at those older levels, the students do help to create those goals for themselves in each of those areas of the Trefford approach. That is a document that we're continuing to work on. We've already had a couple of work days this summer with Nick Protaski from Works, making it a more user-friendly document for families to understand, for you guys, that I will present probably in the fall a little bit more of what that looks like and what it means for our students and more details on that. So we're always looking to grow there. And then Dr. Ed and some of the interns helped us to complete some of those other assessments that we do on our students, like the Woodcock-Johnson, our executive skills questionnaire, and the SABERS, which look at our social emotional learning. And then we're also looking at an easy way to attach those reports to our TAP documents so families have all that data as well. In our component 2 with strength-based and learner-centered, we had numerous passion projects and teacher-led projects throughout the school year. All of our students in grade 2 and above were able to explore passion projects where they pick something that's of high interest to them. We tie it into science, social studies, literacy, or math standards, depending on what that strength or passion area is of theirs. And then they explore in that area and then present to their class or parents or whoever they want to present to. And then with our younger learners, it's more of, we call it a tinker time, where they get to learn what is it that they are passionate about, like exploring arts, exploring music, hands-on sciences, animals, different things we bring into the classroom for them to just explore more with, I would say. We held 2 gallery nights this year. We had one in the fall and one in the spring that featured student projects, art, and book fairs. And they were very well attended by our families. So we will continue to have those next school year. Again, we'll have one in October and one in May. And then we're continuing to build our mentor program, both within our older students mentoring younger students, but also having community mentors for our students, depending on, again, on their age is what that looks like. A lot of the students in Mr. Williams' class for our career fair were able to have mentors in the community in their career choice that they got to interview and work with. Some of their mentors came into our event at the end of the year and got to meet the students in person, which was a really neat experience. This year we introduced our Fun Fridays, which we did once a month. It was just a way to bring in other things to the building as well. So we had baking, we had sewing, we had movement and Phi-Ed, board game time, just taking student ideas, but what do you want to do? And then they got to meet multi-grade levels. So you could have kindergartners and 8th graders playing board games together in a room for an hour at the end of the day. And it was an enjoyable time for everybody. We held our 2nd annual end of the school year carnival that we held at Village Park. It was very well attended by families as well, which was great to see. All of our students in our older 2 classes created games for the younger students to come and play, and it was just a fun experience. Some of them went out and bought prizes for their games with their own money and were excited to hand out prizes for the winners, and it was a great thing. We appreciate our partnership with bands this year. We had 1 student in band and 1 student in choir, and then several students participated in sports. We had cross country, basketball, volleyball, and then several students did track and field this spring. So we appreciate that partnership and having our students be able to join in those activities with other students in the district. Natural environment, just continuing to use the environment around us to play to the strengths and interests of our students. We are able to teach expectations across environments, along with some of our partnerships with like Spillman and Village Park, where we can teach some of those unwritten or hidden rules that our students might not always encounter otherwise. And then incorporating projects with our field trips too. So we did a whole school field trip to Shalom. We did a whole school project on Yellowstone, and then some of the classes got to have like virtual field trip sessions with an actual ranger who talked to them, and they were very engaged in that. And then the career fair at the end of the year for all of our students. Nurturing relationships, we continue to do a parent survey a couple times a year, not only as part of our grant, but just to receive that feedback from families. And we do receive a lot of positive feedback. I'll share more on that later. And then our day starts with a soft start, so students can come anywhere between 8:15 and 8:45, and it just allows that time for them to build relationships with each other, because they can go anywhere in the school, but also with the teachers, gives them time to talk about how was your night, what are you excited about, and I think it's a very positive time for students and staff to be able to kind of settle into the day. Sensory aware, just continuing to be aware that everyone processes their environment differently, and each student's day might look a little different according to what they need. Really working with our students on advocating for what they need to be successful throughout the day and why they might need certain tools to help them, and it's not a bad thing. So teaching those advocacy skills. And then systems, we were very grateful to be at the presentation building, our Treffert Learning Center, which we might rename it. This school year, it was really nice going into summer knowing that we're not going to have to move buildings again and that we get to stay there. I know Dave and his team have been hard at work over there, and our teachers are anxious to get back in there, especially our new teachers, and see the space. We did have the 2 new teachers at the start of this year. Both have moved on to other opportunities, so we're excited again to welcome Kristen Ide and Amanda Weed to our staff next year. We held our lottery in March. So far, we've welcomed 4 new kindergarten students and 1 5th grade student. I did find out this week we had a couple other students move out of district this summer, so we will continue to fill those seats from the waiting list in the order of the greatest deficiency or with our grade level, yeah, thank you. So we have that all in place process-wise, so then I email those families or call them to reach out. We invite them in for a get-to-know-you meeting, and if they're still interested, they sign on that they would like to be enrolled officially at our school. So that's our process there. We held 2 annual fundraising events. Our golf outing was held in June of 2021, and again, we just held it a couple weeks ago. This past June, and all the money raised at the golf outing goes towards student projects, passion projects, bringing in guest speakers, going out on field trips. And then we held our first annual vendor event in December of last year, which was very well attended by the community, people in the school district. It was a fantastic event. All the money raised there went towards our playground fund. And we, along with partnerships, have been working with BCI Burke, and we have an almost final design. So we're really excited about that, and our board will be starting to fundraise the big money to get that playground in hopes of sometime this school year is our goal for sure. Other partnerships, we obviously work with you guys here in the district, and we are very appreciative of this relationship. SSM, Dahl & Associates, Spillman Library, WizNet, the Doc Spiders, and then we had one person partner with New Mexico Arbitration Law Office this year for a project. So we appreciate all those partnerships that we have within our school. And then I just included for you our end of the year report for DPI. So as part of our grant, I think in January or February, I presented twice a year. We have complete data that just shows how we're doing on our goals that we report to the state. So our first goal is that 100% of our students would demonstrate growth on our functional communication rubric. And this year, 53 of our 58 students, so 91%, did demonstrate growth throughout the year. One student, which is 2%, decreased in their score, and 4 out of 58, 7% have stayed the same. And what we're finding is with this functional communication rubric, it was created by us as staff members. But when some of the students hit Mr. Williams' level in that 7th and 8th grade, they're very high in their score already. So to increase that score even by 1 point can be difficult at times. So we're definitely looking at students that decreased or stayed the same. How can we continue to match or make progress? All students, goal 2, will complete STAR reading and math assessments with 85% demonstrating growth. And I think this was our first year that we attained this one. So we're really excited. Between early literacy and STAR reading, 91% of our students demonstrated some growth during this school year. And also with STAR math, 91% demonstrated growth throughout the school year. So it could have been from fall to winter, winter to spring, fall to spring. So looking at throughout the year, but we're really excited for those growth percentages. With our parent satisfaction survey, which is our goal 3, our goal is that we had 70% would rate high satisfactory in their child's development of social, emotional, academic, and then career and college readiness skills. We had 76% of our families respond to our survey, and of those responses, 97.1% are satisfied with our social emotional skills the students are developing, 94.3% are satisfied with the academic skills they're developing, and also 94.3% are satisfied with the career and college readiness skills their students are developing at our school. So, and we do give them the opportunity to provide comments in those areas. So if they said no, we do have feedback, positive or negative, or things to grow on as well, which we analyze. And then our last goal is that we would conduct at least 2 informational presentations or outreach events, and then do a post-evaluation survey if they have a better understanding of what is Treffert Way, what do we do, who are we. So we did hold our 2 informational sessions before enrollment this year. And after the first session, we had 3, I think the first one had 5 or 6 families attend, and they 100% said that they felt knowledgeable about what we presented on. And then our second event, we had 3 families attend, and then no one completed the survey for us. So we sent it out a couple times and didn't get any feedback. So our goal is to not only use those events, but use events like our vendor fair to have more information available about our school, and then survey people there, because they are more of the community. Like, we know that our parents are understanding who we are, but making sure the community also understands who we are. And then looking ahead, we are implementing our summer gatherings. So we already held one summer event at Optimist Park, and then we'll be meeting at Lakeside Park and Kelly's Creamery in July and August. So it's just a time for our families to get together over the summer. New families are invited to get to know people. Teachers come as well. Our staff members are hard at work. Like I said, we've already had a couple days with Nick working on our Trevor Approach plans. 7 of our 10 team members drove up to Tomahawk last week and did a project-based learning conference presented by Works, our charter school resource. And we also met last week, several of us with Adam, working on standards and what formal Treffert Way report cards would look like for next year. And then Tim, Mr. Williams, is working on our 9th grade curriculum. I know he's out in California taking a class right now.
Might be sleeping on the USS Enterprise right now.
Yes, he might be. And then you already heard about Treffert Way High School, which we're also very excited about. So, any questions?
All right, thank you, Tiffany.
Mhm.
All right, so Chris, pass it off to you.
Good evening, everyone. I will make my report a little, my presentation a little shorter for you, but I wanted to start and just thank you for the opportunity to share some highlights. I'd also like to thank Aaron for sharing his positivity, his knowledge, and leadership with us in the district. And welcome to Dr. Mino. We look forward to working with you. So we have an amazing student services team. I want to thank them for their dedication, hard work, and their love for their students, their families, and one another. This was a year where we had to get our sea legs back as we returned to that consistent in-person learning. And we quickly realized that we were experiencing unfinished learning and unfinished teaching due to COVID and just the ever-changing learning environments. So we formed the Tier 3 task force, and that was formed to gather input and representation from across the district. And we considered the literacy and math interventions that we have, what we're missing, and what will have the greatest impact on our students in special ed who are behind grade level in reading and math. It's a big deal to place a student in special ed. IEPs are written and they're driven by student needs. So if we say we're going to pull a student out of their class for 30 minutes each day, we want to make sure that that specialized instruction or that Tier 3 is really working and moving the needle for the student. So Barton Reading was purchased and implemented. I want to thank Jen Towell, our reading interventionist, for sharing her passion for Barton with us and sharing her time as an in-house trainer for our teachers. We saw incredible growth after just a few months. Some of our students actually moved up 2 or 3 grade levels. And we are not saying that Barton is a one-size-fits-all approach, but it definitely provides that rich phonemic instruction and is supporting our students with dyslexia. Bridges Math was also introduced at FLC this year, as Carrie Jo mentioned, and was very well received by students and staff. And as she mentioned, our SPED teachers were trained in the intervention piece, and we continue to see growth in our students. Also, wanted to mention the Life Skills Apartment. That has been a huge hit for students and staff. If you get an opportunity to read the newsletter, you'll see some pictures. Aaron, I don't know if you have my report pulled up.
I do, I have your
Okay.
one right now, not with the new pictures though.
Oh, okay. Chrissy Walter, our adaptive ed teacher, she organized some fantastic field trips for our students again this year. So I put some pictures in there, bowling, they have a parachute activity, they went on a fishing trip with Mr. Holby and the fishing team. That was pretty amazing. So those pictures will all be in the September edition of the SPED newsletter.
I got them up for you, Chris.
Pardon?
I did get them up for you.
Oh, awesome. I love the picture. There's the picture of the young man bowling. He is at FLC and the other student is at the middle school. And it's neat when they have these activities because you see how the students interact in the various buildings and kind of those mentor relationships are starting. So that's pretty cool. The wheelchair accessible van is going to be an awesome addition to our Oriole fleet. So our students who are in wheelchairs can get out and be about in the community. So we're really excited about that. Our Learning for Independence 18 to 21 program is going strong. In the pictures, you can see Katie Bogue. She is one of our Orioles and she graduated this year. One picture is with Jana, who who's her special ed teacher, and then Miss Joe handing Katie her certificate at the ceremony. Our enrollment is growing from 9 to 11 students next year, and that is very exciting to see. Let's see, 4K. We had a great year with early childhood 4K. We're looking forward to using Bridges Math at the 4K level next year. So we have that continuum with our curriculum, and those teachers will be receiving training and coaching in August. I put a table in here for you just to show some comparative numbers for special ed over the past 4 years. You might notice the trend in overall students with disabilities is decreasing, but we've also seen an increase in behaviors and more intense social emotional needs in our students. We had an increase in initial evals. DPI rolled out some changes for criteria for qualifying students for speech and language and EBD. So we saw more initials this year. I want to thank our 2 psychologists, Rachel Platchik and Blair Krieger, for their support with evals this year. And then our speech paths, Heather Kraft, Colleen Anholt, Beth Dardis, Renee, Erin, and Katie from Presence for their help with speech initials this year. We had quite a few students celebrate dismissals from special ed, particularly from speech and language. Special education requires resources, as you know, and when students are receiving those services who don't need them, it waters down the services that we're able to provide for those who do need them. And this impacts their ability to grow as a learner. So we're always excited when students have met their goals, and it's a celebration when they are dismissed. Let's see. Just want to touch on just culture, our relationship building is a hallmark in our district. It was great to see the friendships that grow and flourish in our student services department. We held our 2nd annual Birds of a Feather WCAS Awards. And what I love about these awards is the staff nominate each other. We scaled it down more this year, and we have 3 winners. We have Sarah Baldwin's, her picture's on there. She is our presence learning human resource person. She supports the kids. And Lori Dobbs, who works with our early childhood kids as a special ed aide. And then Terry Graby, who works at FLC as a special education teacher for our students with intellectual disabilities. So congratulations to them. Our new staff did a great job this year. Savannah Byreisen completed her first year as an elementary SPED teacher while she's working on her certification through the WRIGHT program. The WRIGHT program is a very vigorous teacher ed licensure program. So very proud of her, and also of Jenna Bray, who completed the program 1 year prior. It has been a busy spring of hiring for me. I'm very excited about our new staff who will be joining the team. This was kind of neat. I wanted to share that Stacia Weber and Allison Donovan were interviewed and hired this spring. And then just a few weeks later, they joined me on the other side of the table to interview candidates for the instructional aid positions. So I don't think that's ever happened before, where I've interviewed somebody and then they were helping me interview a month later. So that was pretty neat that they were willing to jump in. They're not even working yet, so that was pretty cool. And then finally, as a district, we met DPI compliance requirements for our indicator 11. That measures if we're determining evals in a timely manner. That's a good thing. And indicator 8 measures our family engagement input. So we put out surveys and we had a 26% return, which I wish it were higher. We had to meet the compliance of 10%. So we can check those boxes off, but we are going to take the family engagement survey information and we're going to unpack that and see what we can do to get our families even more engaged and take that feedback and make some changes. We held 435 IEP meetings this year, and most of them were virtual. Our families really appreciate having that option to meet virtually or in person. We have some families who just can't attend a meeting after school, or they can't find childcare. So it's great that you can just pull up your computer if you are on your lunch break and attend a meeting, or in your living room and have your kids there. So we will continue that practice next year. I want to thank Judy McHugh for her hard work and help with our high cost report. She did the brunt of the work, pulled these figures together for us, and we received $184,000 plus. So thank you, Judy, for that and all that she does to help our special education department. So those are some highlights. Thanks for listening and appreciate your support.
Thanks, Chris. Does anybody have any questions of Chris? There's a lot from all the way from the east side of Fond du Lac and MPTC all the way to our apartment here, the new van. Thanks, Dave, for searching for some great values on our wheelchair van that's gonna be critical for one of our students that's kind of in an estuary between Friendship and West Allen. So good stuff. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
All right, Adam.
Yeah, and a lot has been said already, so I want to highlight just one piece. I think that hasn't been mentioned. So we had a new hire this year, an interventionist in the grades 6 through 12. And we also had some classroom teachers doing some interventions, and that can sometimes be a mindset shift, I think, for teachers in grades 6 through 12, because sometimes they aren't sure how that could look or how we could do that. So it's great to work with some of those teachers and work with the teams to say, okay, how can we provide students with extra support in addition to what they're getting in our regular classroom. So I just want to highlight some of the data there. And this is, again, kind of, as we have interventions, we're monitoring that data in most cases every week or every other week to make sure we're on track. And then I like to look at that and say, okay, it's really great if the data is moving within the intervention, but I want to see, does it work when they leave that intervention space? So then I compare our STAR assessment from those students compared to all of our students in the district to see, hey, the point of the intervention is that they are gaining faster and more than students that aren't in the intervention. So I like to see, okay, how much more are they gaining? And some of the figures are there, but overarchingly for our math interventions, we saw those students gain over 2 times what students that weren't in the intervention were gaining. And about 60, so 2/3 of the students actually gain that amount of 2 times the amount of other students. So, sometimes we'd have one student that would kind of skew the data because they maybe didn't gain it all and that wasn't the right fit for them. But so again, sometimes, if we took out 1 or 2 students that were kind of skewing that data, those numbers might be better than that, but we were really excited about that piece. And you can see there too, even in 7th grade, we had 3 times the gains with an intervention that we were doing. I think, again, sometimes with those moments, it also changes that student's perspective of who they are, and that mental piece of that, I think, is really powerful for our kids because they all of a sudden see themselves as someone different than they did before. So I think that's the power to not that the numbers don't always show that, but more of that perception data. And then for reading on average, we had 1.5 times the gains compared to students that were not in the intervention. So again, felt good about that. And, it's probably the bare minimum I'd look to see is 1.5 gains. For reading, that's a little skewed. And this is where you kind of have to, with an intervention, make some choices. We had some students that we knew their data is not going to show up in, say, a STAR assessment, but we knew we can maybe change their lives with giving them some foundational reading skills that are going to be good for them as they move forward. So some of those students, it's not going to show up maybe in the data or on a state assessment. They're going to grow, but they're probably still going to be behind. But we felt that, hey, we still want to support those students as best we can, along with students that, are kind of getting different interventions that are going to show up on, say, a STAR assessment or a state assessment. So I know some districts play the game of, hey, let's make our data look really good by just helping these students that are really close and maybe don't do as much for kids that are well below, but we tried to, again, live in both spaces as best we could. So we felt that was right for our students and right for our families. So again, those data points there, we felt really comfortable with that. And we know that it will get better as we have year 2 and do more. So.
All right. Any questions for Adam? Dave, do you have anything, or are you good?
Yeah, I'm pretty good.
All right.
We're heavy into the summer clean, so.
Excellent. Well, as you can see, the administrators, I know this got it got very granular in some places, but it's neat that you can see all the things that are going on behind the scenes, and sometimes a lot of things get put at all of you to read. So thank you, all of you, for taking the time to share, and also giving Matt a really good picture of what's going on at each one of the buildings and within the department. So thank you very much. And with that said, we're on to new business. Oh, new business goes fast.
All right. Number one is to discuss and consider resignations of staff.
Well, thank you very much. As you can see, we've had some movement as far as our staff goes, and right now, we have some amazing teachers that are, and administrators, people that have been here and done great things. I'm gonna recommend Pat Colby. He's got a job 5 minutes from his house. Amazing teacher, but we're excited for him up in Winnicott. He's had for us. Carl, he's got a job. Carl's gonna be the assistant principal and dean at Washington North. And then Sam, he's got a job up in Menasha where he lives. Tim's moving back out to Maine, as Mike had said. He was great to come in and fill in for when Mike had a new opportunity this year, so we're looking for that. Michaela Brown just found out, a 5th grade teacher. She's gonna be moving closer to home too, in Oshkosh. And then Jane Mongen, who FLC teacher, who was 50%, now that her Amanda Weed now is moving over to Trefford. She's decided to stay at home and look at different careers. And plus, one that'll add here, just found out last Friday, things are going out. Thank you, Carrie Jo, for all your service. Good luck in your new move as you go into inner city Milwaukee, back into the world of business. But appreciate all that you've done to help make this facility come alive and help us move forward. So thank you.
Thank you.
There we go.
All right, so that's the list.
That's the list.
So, entertain a motion to accept the resignations as presented.
So moved.
I'll second.
Any discussion? And roll call?
Matthew,
Yes.
Jaeger,
Yes.
Geckerman,
Yes.
Hawk,
Yes.
Goldowski, yes.
All right, number two, discuss and consider educator and certified staff contracts for 2022 to 2023 school year.
I was hoping to have some more. So it's busy time. Chris and the team are interviewing a special education teacher tomorrow. So we'll see what comes to fruition on that one. So good luck with that. I know Samantha, her team are looking at some AD and dean of students. So good luck with that. We're gonna have some other positions that are gonna be hiring. So it's gonna be a busy summer. The only one I have right now is something that probably been in the works for about 5 years. Ivan Escobar, who's we were fortunate to get from as an intern back in the day that we hired full time. I have been IT director here, and with Matt coming in, not saying he doesn't understand IT, but Ivan has been doing such a wonderful job. He is the go-to person from everything to implementation to he helped build our networks. He's actually on a task force where he's gonna learn how to be somebody that will help come in and save or fix and bring districts back when they have ransomware attacks like we saw in Neenah and Black River Falls. He's an amazing guy. And what I said, certified staff, he's not an educator or an administrator. He's kind of in that quasi world, like Bridget. So he's got a contract like Bridget that his is on salary now, but I think he'll do an excellent job. Also, the way that he's learned everything with the federal grants of E-rate, and also with our loan programs, he runs the budget. So I think he'll be a great asset to Matt and do a great job as a director of information and technology.
All right. So under this one, I'll entertain a motion then to approve the contract of certified staff on Ivan Escobar as IT director. I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I guess I have an opinion. I just don't think it's, when we're creating a new position that's a direct report to the superintendent, and Aaron's in his last week of service, I think the appropriate course of action would be for Aaron to sit down with Matt during this transition period. Say, here's the position I want to create, here's who I recommend for it. And then at the next board meeting or whenever Matt's comfortable, he would bring that forward. I'm just not comfortable with creating a direct report to the super, and this has nothing to do with Ivan, just so clear on that. It's just the process itself, creating and filling a direct report to the superintendent in the last basically week of your tenure. I'm just opposed to that concept process-wise.
Yeah, and I understand.
Do you have any comment, Matt? I don't want to put you on the spot here.
Well,
And
it doesn't matter to me if Matt agrees with this or not. It's the
Okay.
process.
All right.
And he should have time to sit down, think it through, look at the job description, make sure this is the job description he wants. And I'm sure Ivan is, probably the one, it's probably going to be created and it's probably going to be Ivan. But I think the process should be that Matt has time to think this through, go through with Aaron, look at the job description in detail, make sure he's comfortable. So whether Matt, I don't want to put Matt on the spot here tonight, whatever he says won't affect the way I'm going to vote.
And I respect that. My role is as a superintendent, this is something that I've been thinking about, talking with Diana, brought it up numerous times in the past few years. There's an accelerated timeline. This was going to be coming forward anyways, and that's what it is. But by no means anything trying to take one away from Matt's ability to have an impact on the future staff. I just thought it was my responsibility within what my role is right now. So that's why I went for it.
No, and I'm not implying any ill intent at all. I'm just have a difference of opinion on how the process should be.
Excellent.
Any other discussion? We have a motion and a second on the floor, so do a roll call vote.
Hack,
Yes.
Kildowski, yes. Jaeger,
Yes.
Geckerman,
No.
Mathey.
No.
All right. Number 3, discuss and consider extension of Johnson bus contract for the 2023-24, 24-25, and 25-26 school years.
As we had stated, thank you, Joe, for staying around. I think it's a really a great deal. I think it will save us money in the long run. I think this is a time to lock this in. We've gone out to RFP every 5 years for transportation, and all the times it came back to Johnson Bus. And Johnson Bus is a great partner, and I feel their services has continued to grow. Even with Brenda leaving, I know that they're going to take care and have somebody new that will do that and then serve us well. And that's the key thing about Johnson Bus that I've seen is they always, safety of our kids, if there's a problem or an issue, they're on top of it. It might not be perfect, but they're willing always to work it out.
Entertain a motion to approve the contract with Johnson Bus.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Roll call?
Mathey,
Yes.
Kildowski, yes. Jaeger,
Yes.
Geckerman,
Yes.
Hack.
Yes. Okay, motion carries. 5, discuss and consider school handbooks and co-curricular guides for the 2022-2023 school year.
All right, so what I'll do is I'm going to go, we have them. I provided me last week. Thank you very much, staff, for putting those together. We'll just go through the summary pages. So we'll start with Samantha. You had mentioned it briefly, but a little bit summary of your co-curricular and also high school changes.
Yep, let me just get back here, sorry. So a little bit just update like normal, the personnel names will change on the handbook. The big one, like I said, is the language is going through, just really trying to eliminate a lot of the he, she, and indicate student. The other thing that we updated, both middle school and high school, was our wheelchair policy, just trying to work with our school nurse that way. Our constitution was updated from student council, what they went through. And my computer just kind of froze on me, hold on. All right, no, it's not gonna show me now.
So I came in cold on that one. Should have gave you a warning.
No, that's okay. I just, actually, my, lights in my garage and that went out, and I was like, uh-oh, what happened? And I'm wondering if it's something with my computer here. Let me just, see if I can just reload it.
And I did send, you guys all got that last week, so we got those covered. And then, with handbook co-curricular, I know Carl's not here right now, but that was just adjusted for what the 3-tier code violations will serve 1 season suspension, just some clarification there, correct?
Correct.
All right. Thank
I
you.
just want to make that very clear. And here, just the last couple of things that are in here. So one of the things that's in our handbook that just I wanted the board to know that we are going to review. So every year as a staff, when we come back in fall, from our Oriole team that meets in August, we review things like our head covering policy. So the past couple years, we've dealt with phones in our building, which are, for lack of a better term, a large nuisance. So our policy has been in our handbook that, students are allowed to use their phones during lunch and during passing time, but they need to not be visible in the classroom. So if they are taken out in the classroom while the teacher is providing, a lesson, that the phone may be taken away. Head coverings, what we've done, because of trying to be more of a trauma-based school, we've had a lot of students have really indicated that, that's their safety net. That is a way for them to get through the day. We had a lot of students who were, asking through student council and through other venues, hey, could you guys consider some sort of hat? So last summer when our Oriole team met, we talked to teachers. And the big issue was, obviously we have cameras in our building. We want to be able to see students if there is any sort of issue or question that we need to look into. And then secondly, how do teachers handle hats in the classroom? And what staff shared was that when there's a brimmed hat, they're really not able to see a student's eyes. They're not able to see if they're engaged. If there's some sort of, winter hat, if there is anything without a brim, they felt like that was okay and that would help support students who are struggling with anxiety, struggling with trauma. So we gave that a try this year. I know that my baseball hat wearing students didn't love that, but kind of explain that. And so Oriole team, we're gonna review in August to see if that policy continues or if we need to make a tweak. So I will update the board in September regarding that, but just know that that's what's in our handbook right now.
Any questions for Samantha? All right, Michael.
Many changes to the band's community handbook are cosmetic. What I mean by that is we need to hire new dean of students who need to put their name there. New board members will be included. New staff members and their extensions. But the major points are we have a new leadership class for 8th grade, and then the 8th grade exploratory strand with consumer science and the business class are going to combine. So we provided descriptions for those new classes. We clarified the policy for lockers and backpacks because when COVID and the pandemic we're going through, do we allow backpacks and all that, and now we're not. In the lockers, we just want to make sure that students understand you should not share your combination or actual physical locker space. So we included that in the handbook. School grounds, just clarifying when we let students in, when it's precipitation or below 0, and the wheelchair policy that Samantha explained. And then our new daily schedule tweaks to it where we move Oriole time from the end of the day to the middle of the day corresponding with each grade level's lunch. And then we have 5 minutes of announcements after 7th hour so that everyone can listen to the same announcements all the time. And that's pretty much it.
Any questions for Mike?
So you are allowing backpacks or you're not?
We're not.
Not, okay.
What?
Backpacks and hats, everybody. That's what we get down to. Cool. Excellent, thank you. All right, friendship. Carrie Jo or Lauren?
Sure, I can, first of all, thank Lauren, because this is always a task that she has taken on the last couple of years. So Lauren, it's up to you if you want me to go through it or you want to.
I can go through it.
Okay.
Yeah. So the first three, kind of like Mike said, are really just some of that cosmetic stuff. Number 4, we had clarified and added an additional page regarding attendance policies, and a lot of these really stem from conversations that, I had with families throughout the year, or that maybe the nursing team had with families throughout the year, just, areas that they wanted clarity around. And then number 5, update pricing guide and information for breakfast, lunch, and snack. Carrie Jo, it sounds like that may potentially be changing too in the coming week or so. Is that right?
Yeah, depending on if the legislature passes free and reduced lunch, because I know it passed the House, I think it's waiting for Senate, if I understand correctly.
Okay, so we'll obviously make those changes as needed. And then we are adding a lost and found gallery, which maybe sounds really silly, but if you've ever been in our cafeteria, you'll see the abundance of kid clothing that we tend to accumulate, throughout the year. So we're gonna try something new and have an online lost and found gallery, and hopefully that minimizes some of the belongings that we gather. And then I also included the school-wide behavior matrix, which has a link to some of the various locations around friendship. We're really trying to, use technology and just some of our resources too when it comes to how we share out with our students and families all of those tier 1 expectations. So making sure that that was updated. And then the arrival process, this is something that changed, I want to say, kind of at the start of this year or midway through this year, where we are having students come right into the building at arrival time, so right at that 8:35. In the past, we had families, we had staff go up to the playground area to meet the students, but we found that it's just much more efficient to just have the kids kind of come in and start the day right away, especially since we have breakfast in the classroom. And then there's an additional safety information for parents that was shared out in a newsletter in the beginning of the year, but I thought that that would be appropriate to include just because, again, it's FLC specific. New information regarding the Oriole zone, which I had touched on earlier in the meeting. And then Carrie Jo and I worked on some new and revised kind of community visitor volunteer forms. So those are also included as well.
Thank you, Lauren and Carrie Jo. Any questions? All right. So that is the slate of handbooks. We have FLC, BAMS, and Horace Mann student handbooks or community handbooks. And then we have our co-curricular handbook for the high school.
All right. Entertain a motion to approve the handbooks as presented with the changes. I'll make that motion.
Second.
Roll call?
Huck,
Yes.
Maffey,
Yes.
Goldowski, yes, Jaeger,
Yes.
Geckerman.
Yes.
Okay, item 6, discuss and consider extra duty letters of assignment for fall coaches.
Yep, and as I said, we had skipped one over. I'm going to get you, since our employment guides, I'll have those in July. I also think it's gonna be a great thing when Matt comes in on the 18th to go through these, kind of give them an idea, background of different things, I think, and then give some of the new board members a little bit of chance to look at the appendices and everything that's in there. So that was on there, so we'll just table that one. We'll come back to that. And then tomorrow, what I'll do is I'll make copies. So if anybody wants a paper copy, pick it up. It might be easier to go through and kind of look at. So a little helpful. And then the coaches, yep, so I had Sarah, so here's the mentors and the pets, and the difference, remember, is that it's that peer educational teammate. That's for somebody, for instance, like Elena Thompson. Jen Nygaard's been a teacher already. So Elena will just help feed her person and it gets her acclimated to Oriole Nation. So a pet gets paid less than a mentor. A mentor's $750, I think a pet's $300. When you have a mentor like Terry Jagodinsky, Lydia Immel, she's a brand new teacher. So as you go through the educator guide, you're gonna see our mentor handbook that Adam has helped to revise and continue to grow. And there's a lot more specifics, not only about being in the school district or Fond du Lac, but what it means to be a teacher overall. So this is a list of the mentors and pets that I'm recommending. And then also Sarah put together, we're starting to do this. It seems like sometimes we approve some coaches and then something changes, goes on. So I just wanted to have all of our sports coaches here that we have, and that you can kind of look at those and see how they are. And I had this out there, and we're gonna, some of these are maintained, so it's not necessary to approve again, but I think it's just cleaner so we have an idea of the slate. So those are the ones that I'm putting up for approval. That list of coaches and also the list of pets and mentors included in your packet.
What's PET stand for again?
Peer educational teammate, a teacher's pet, if you will.
Got it.
Okay. All right. So, entertain a motion to approve the extra duty letters of assignment to the fall coaches.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Beckerman,
Yes.
Maffey,
Yes.
Hack,
Yes.
Kowalski, yes. Yeager.
Yes.
All right. And then item 7, discuss and consider the WIA agreement for the 22-23 school year.
Yearly thing we do, WIA a few years ago waived costs, so it doesn't cost us anything. And it's the same slate of sports that we have. We host a couple of the co-ops, and we share in the co-ops, the hockey ones at Fond du Lac. So just, once again, you'll notice it's North Fond du Lac High School, which is so much easier to follow than Horace Mann. Not saying Horace Mann isn't a good name for high school, honoring the start of all public schools back in the early 1900s. But on there, you'll see it's a relationship with North Fond du Lac High School, which helps us with our identity when we have sports throughout the state.
All right. Entertain a motion to approve the WIA agreement.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second. Any discussion?
It's not about that, just, I know we approved a co-op for boys swim with Fondi and all that. And I know girls swim is that still?
Well, both the swims, it was too late for it to
Okay.
get in, so that one got nixed. So we're gonna have to approve both of them next year earlier.
Okay.
But yeah, so one we were with the boys swim, we didn't get the girls in because it was too late in the season. Also, the track one got denied with Oakfield because the flyway ADs wouldn't approve it. So there's a new thing out there. We have a lot of co-ops which help us be successful, but since we've won in cross country and we have a co-op, it is what it is. But we'll keep going and give our kids the best opportunities we have, make sure we have programs. That's a whole 3-4 hour conversation. We wanted to co-op with the Springs for football, but I didn't know how we would tell Coach Highland that Whitaker would be the coach. So we're working through that one too.
That process is new, if I understand, right? The WIA wanted to get rid of all that controversial stuff with one side, wanting this and conference realignment and all that stuff. They kind of started to put it back on the individual conferences and schools, some of these things like this.
Yeah, so co-op, you always have to have your conference, okay. And it's never been a problem, but now that we found some pretty good success in cross country, now it's like, oh. So, well, what they don't realize is you come to the playoffs, our girls teams for soccer and boys are Division II. Where if we didn't have a co-op, we'd be Division III, but we wouldn't be able to compete normally throughout the year because those key things are important. We just want great opportunities for all our kids. We're not stealing state titles from people. And then some of the other schools like the Springs or
Yes.
WLA, they co-op with about 7 or 8 communities because they pull from all over. So it's a conversation as long as the day is old, and it's gonna be what it is. No need to get excited about that one. Been down that road.
All right, roll call?
Yeager,
Yes.
Hack,
Yes.
Kowalski, yes. Beckerman,
Yes.
Maffey.
Yes.
Okay. And then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Jump on. All right, guys, thank you. Thank you. Everybody out there in the Algor sphere.
I vote yes.
See you guys later. Have a great night. Good job.
Thanks, good night.
Good night, Oriole Nation. Joe, unbelievable. You did it. The whole thing, you too, Mike.
Yeah, thank you.
Second longest one in the.
Nice.
Yeah.